Welcome to Plaid for Women TV, your go-to resource for the business of life. Whether the CEO of your home or your own business, women struggle with the same challenges. At Plaid TV, we discuss real-life issues affecting real women and offer solutions to help you achieve your goals, get connected, and be heard. Together, we will change the world. Let's do this. No mean girls allowed.
Hey, welcome everybody to Plaid for Women TV. I'm Siobhan Palmer. In this series, we're going to be talking about a very important topic, elder care law. My guest today is Ms. Karen Telschow Johnson. She's an attorney with the Telschow Johnson Law Firm in Fort Worth, Texas. Karen, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm very excited. In this first segment, we're going to be talking about guardianship as it relates to an option for protecting someone's mother and or father. So Why don't we talk about the types of guardianship, Karen, for both the estate and for the individual?
Guardianship in Texas happens two ways. Okay. It happens, number one, somebody's in a hospital situation and nobody is there to make financial or medical decisions. And so the hospital or an aide may contact the court and say this is needed. So you can have a guardianship in Texas that arises from a third party contacting the court and say, hey, we have somebody here who needs help. That's not true in most states, but it is true in Texas. The other type of guardianship is where, a parent or an adult child needs help for their parent, and unfortunately there's no documents in place to help them otherwise. And so they will have to seek a formal guardianship in a probate court in order to proceed to be able to take care of them. And so when you're talking about guardianship of the estate and talking about guardianship of the person, guardianship of the estate is money. It's finances. Okay. It's who's going to take care of the bills, who's going to be writing the checks, who's going to be a fiduciary responsible for doing those things. And so they are held to a very high standard. And so not everybody needs that, but sometimes they also might need guardianship of the person. And so guardianship of the person is where they need to be told the patient needs care as far as, are they going to be going into a long-term care facility? Can they be treated at home with an aide? And so guardianship of the person is actual physicality. It's where are they going to be and who's responsible for making sure they're going to be safe.
Okay. Why don't you give us some examples of both as an estate scenario and then as an individual? Do you have some clients or cases you could share with us?
Sure. An estate scenario is typically where somebody just needs help paying the bills. They can't do it anymore, or they get confused easily. And it normally starts at that level in dealing with finances, and the electricity will get shut off and the gas will get shut off. And it's because things start to get past due because they start losing sequencing ability in their mind. And so it's just usually an adult child will come in and they'll start paying the bills, but they're not on the account. Powers of attorney aren't in place. And so there needs to be then a formal process to see
for the
transition. And so that's guardianship of the estate. And so in a lot of cases, if you have an adult child who's disabled or an adult who becomes disabled, and they don't necessarily need to be taken care of in a physical manner, but they can no longer take care of their finances, pay their mortgage, deal with those matters. And so then you can even have like guardianship services is something in Tarrant County that can be utilized as a service to be able to pay bills. They're appointed guardianship of the estate. They're bonded. And so they have a legal obligation to be able to act in that manner. So that's very different from guardian of the person.
Okay, very interesting. So let's talk about guardianship for self-document. Explain that whole concept.
Okay, well, a lot of people want to try and avoid a court proceeding, all right? Because when you're talking about a court proceeding, you're talking about somebody coming in and the government running your life. This is a very big deal.
A lot of people's worst fear, yeah.
It is, because when you're talking about a guardianship, you're also talking about the possibility of taking away their right to vote, their right to drive. It's anything under the 18 that you didn't have as a legal right, you're not going to have any longer. And so the court seeks to act in a way for the least restrictive means to be taken upon the proposed ward. Okay, so there's least restrictive means. There are alternatives that we try to use prior to needing a guardianship, so that if somebody's only income is Social Security income and all we're dealing with is how to handle that income, through the Social Security Administration, an adult child can become, say, a promisee on the account to be able to do that. So guardianship of the estate is avoided by certain methods and transactions. And so it's really governed by those types of accounts and what the needs are. So with the guardianship of the person, when we're talking about where somebody's physicality going to be, that's usually more court intervention, and families want to try to avoid that. One of the ways to avoid that is to have the guardianship for self document. So it's a document that says who I want as a guardianship of my estate and who I want as a guardianship of my person, but most importantly, who I don't want. It's where
that's key,
it's
critical,
where
isn't it?
I can exclude people.
So would you give me a scenario with that? Who you wouldn't want involved?
A first spouse. So you have blended families,
right,
which is very much a legal state, in today's times. And so there's not necessarily a lot of positive relationships sometimes between stepchildren and spouses, current spouses, or current spouses and former spouses. And so unfortunately, when somebody gets to the point where they need a guardianship, we're dealing with capacity issues. And so, hey, Dad would have wanted me then, but he doesn't want me now.
Right.
But back at the time when he wrote that document, back in the time when he said that, he didn't exclude me. And so later on, when they're not of capacity, it can help guide the court as to who should be appointed by seeing who the person when they were of capacity, when they could do that, who they want as a person responsible for taking care of them, and who they don't want as a person responsible for taking care of them.
And isn't it also very important as the years go by and scenarios change that you have to update documents and be aware of, like you said, divorces, new marriages, more children and family members coming into this scenario, so that the person really has the paperwork in place and the people that they want to designate to take care of them?
Yes, absolutely. It's unfortunately the reason that people come to me and they say, so we're going to get these documents done, and then when do I need to change them? Do I need to see you on an annual basis every 5 years? And I said, it happens. People change. So I've had a couple come into my office, and then we prepare all these documents, and then 6 months later they're back in my office because the brother who they had listed on everything, because he was the family accountant, very responsible, took care of everybody's books. Well, he was now in Leavenworth for tax fraud. And so we needed to change all their papers.
Yes, we do.
So you don't need to necessarily change all your papers for things, and what I tell people, stuff. But you definitely need to change things when fiduciaries change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very important.
Karen, this is great information. Let's talk now about financial powers of attorney so you can avoid guardianship if that's all you have to deal with.
Right. So with, say, for example, a number of people as they get older, their main source of income is Social Security.
Right.
And so then if we're dealing with that just to really be able to pay the bills, and all we're dealing with Social Security, you can change the payee on Social Security to an adult child or whoever you'd like to, so that they can receive that money and then pay your bills. And so in a lot of times you can put, friends that you trust on bank accounts to be able to, to do that. But I don't suggest putting anybody on there. Obviously, it has to be somebody you trust.
Absolutely.
But then a good example for financial power of attorney is an example that happened recently. And a woman went into the hospital, and she'd had cancer for a number of years. The family did not think this was her last hospitalization, but it turned out to be exactly that. And only a few weeks prior, she had taken her car into the shop. And she'd been making payments. It was a large repair. And when the kids went to go get the car, they said, well, we need a power of attorney. We need Mom to sign off on everything. And they went, Mom's not leaving the hospital. Mom's, tubes, ICU, done. And they said, well, we can't do anything without, the power of attorney. So I get this phone call late on a Friday. And what was funny about it is he'd used LegalZoom. He's like, I thought we needed the power of attorney, so I got on LegalZoom. And they sped it up, and he's paid the speed up fee for and they said I'm going to have it in 5 to 7 days. And I said, they sped it up, and you're going to have it in 5 to 7 days. Tell me what you need. It's not a complicated document. I had it done in 30 minutes. And then we ended up, they couldn't use a regular notary for what they needed. And so I ended up going over there, and we executed it. And they were able to go ahead and deal with the mechanic and deal with the potential for a mechanic's lien. But alternative to that, had they not had that very simple financial power of attorney, had she died, it becomes a debt owed from the estate, all right? And we have to go to probate court, so we have to open up a probate proceeding. The car is an asset. proofs of claim get to file from creditors. So we have to go through a full, probate
Nightmare
proceeding
scenario when it
to
could have been
deal with a car.
right.
And so it was a very simple process. The financial powers can be very effective for scenarios like that, and it just makes sense to have them.
That's fantastic. Karen, thank you so much. It's been fantastic on guardianship as an option for protecting either mom or dad. This is Siobhan Palmer. We're talking to you a bit about elder law issues with Karen Telschow Johnson of the Telschow Johnson Law Firm. We appreciate you joining us. And Karen, give us a website how folks can contact you regarding this topic.
Okay, it is tjlawpllc.com.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
You can use the email, Karen@tjlawpllc.com. Happy to help.
Terrific. This is Siobhan Palmer with Plaid for Women Television. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching Plaid TV. See you next time.